kick things off with the Tigers because I think this was such an amazing opportunity for Sawyer Gipson-Long to establish himself as someone who the Tigers maybe are reliant on down the stretch of this season with 1 month left. They announced yesterday before the game, AJ Hinch says Chris Paddock is moving to the pen, right? We're no longer going to continue to throw Chris Paddock every 5 days. We've been asking for that for, 3 weeks now? After one of those pathetic starts that he had a couple weeks back. We've been asking for this for a while. So AJ Hinch says this on the way out of his press conference, and it leaves everyone wondering, who is going to be the starter then, the fifth starter, if Chris Paddock's coming out of the bullpen? Well, Sawyer Gipson-Long gets the start yesterday, and I'm thinking to myself, look, this is a big opportunity for this kid to establish himself as someone who the Tigers can use in the rotation for the last month of the season. Instead of having him be an opener, they can let him go out there and try to work this Mets team. And it started out nice, right? Like, has a strikeout against Juan Soto in the first inning, gives up a hit, but gets out of it. Like, it looks like a promising start, and then gives up 2 home runs. The Mets absolutely light him up, take BP against him. This was a big opportunity for the kid, and it was disappointing in every single way you can possibly think of. Now, a really tough situation to put yourself in, going up against this Mets lineup, which is dangerous as hell. But still, like, a huge opportunity for this guy, and just completely wasted it in every way, shape, or form. So now that the Tigers are down to 4 starting pitchers, if you're not including Sawyer Gipson-Long into that mix, all of a sudden you're looking at Tarik Skubal as your only guy that you really trust. And then the other 3 guys would be Jack Flaherty, formerly just bad in the 5th and 6th inning, now bad all the time, 5.51 ERA in August. Casey Mize, post-All-Star break. You know what? I'm going to save that stat for a little bit later. It's bad, though. It's really bad. Charlie Morton, he's given up 5 home runs in the first month he's been here. Also leads the league in hit batters at this point in the season. And then Sawyer Gipson-Long, like I said yesterday, the Mets absolutely light him up. It's Skubal and M. That's what it is at this point. Remember that old Cade and them meme? It's Cade and the boys down at...
That's Cade and them, right?
I didn't even know we had that in the board. Yeah, this is Skubal and them. It's Skubal and everyone else right now. And I know, Kyle, like, your panic meter might be even a little higher than mine is right now, because the Tigers are going into a postseason, and regardless of if it's a 5-game series, a 7-game series, or a 3-game series, which is unlikely considering they're probably going to get a first-round bye, after game 1, you're kind of just petrified as to what you're going to get from Flaherty or Mize or Morton or SGL. They came out and basically said, we're not going to use Melton as a starter. We like him as this bullpen guy who can come in relief and pitch bulk innings. And I agree, like, he's been a weapon out of the pen, even though his long-term future here is clearly as a starter. I like him as insurance when some of these guys go down. But, hey, if he's going to pitch 3 innings because Flaherty's got to get pulled after 2 or 3, guess what? You don't have that guy the next day. You can't rely on him every single day or back-to-back days. Look, I look at the rest of the guys in the lineup right now, or in the rotation outside of Tarik Skubal. I'm not confident in any of them. So, whereas last year it was Skubal and pitching by chaos and kind of just using duct tape and glue and string and piecing it all together, now they actually have the pieces. It just feels like any one of them on any given day could be the worst pitcher in the league. That doesn't make you feel very great going into a postseason here in the last month of the season. Honestly, I can't believe Walker Buehler wasn't, it at least didn't get a phone call from the Tigers. He's with the Phillies now after getting released by the Red Sox. I'm in a little bit of disbelief that Kiter Montero hasn't got another opportunity here with the big leagues team. He's still down in AAA and hasn't pitched since July. I don't know what the solution here is other than pray and cross your fingers that Alex Cobb or Ikiti or Reese Olson ends up getting healthy at some point. You're banking on those guys to finish up their rehab assignments, or in the case of Reese Olson, just recover from his injury. And then Paul Sewald can get thrown into that group too, the guy that they traded for at the deadline and still has yet to pitch as a Tiger because he's been hurt, had a live BP session yesterday. You're really banking on some of these guys that are injured to come back and provide something for you. Otherwise, I don't know how I can sit here and tell this audience that this team's going to the World Series, because the pitching staff outside of Tarik Skubal simply has not been good enough. And we've been complaining about this bullpen for months now, but ironically, in August, they have figured it out. A 2.84 ERA is one of the best months that any bullpen had across baseball. They've been solid in the month of August. It's the starters, ironically, that now we have to worry about going into a playoff series.
Well, yeah, and I mean, you say you can't confidently say that they're going to go to a World Series. I can't confidently say they're going to win a 5-game series in the divisional round. Like you said, my panic meter is much higher. It'd be different if it was this 3-game wild card series and you get the game 1 win with Tarek Skubal, and then you hope you can just win 1 of 2 after that. But in a best-of-5 series, how can you trust anyone other than Tarek Skubal out there on the mound? It's quite frustrating that we've gotten to this point, and like you said, they have the pieces now. Sure, I wouldn't really necessarily call them pieces. They just have starting pitching. They actually have like 6 guys that you could consider to be starting pitchers. The unfortunate part is one of them is good, and the other guys, you're really just crossing your fingers like maybe we can get one good outing out of the rest of the 5 of them every time they're out there to pitch. That is not a strategy to win baseball games in the playoffs. You know, that's not a team that you should feel great about. That's not some successful – I don't understand how when you look at the other teams in the American League, you compare pitching staffs. We can talk about the great bullpen. We can talk about the offense that has really done a good job, I think, of trying to claw their way back once they get down early in these games. Yesterday, not so much, but yesterday also got out of hand insanely fast, so what are you going to do about it? But when you look at these other pitching staffs, that's where it starts out in the playoffs. Like, you have to be able to get to your bullpen guys. The Tigers aren't even giving them the option to do that right now with the way their starting pitching is getting blown up.
No. Unk getting lit up a couple days ago. Sawyer Gibson Long yesterday. He gives up the 2 shots. And then they actually do try Chris Paddock out of the bullpen yesterday. And
good stuff.
Before you could even blink, had given up back-to-back home runs. So I just don't know what to say about this team other than I'm real worried. Like 7 out of 10 on the worry scale in terms of what this rotation is bringing to the table in the postseason. I mean, you paid Jack Flaherty $25 million this offseason, and that wasn't to be an average pitcher. That was to be the second guy behind Tarek Skubal. He hasn't been that all season. And now we're in a month, or I guess we just closed up a month, where he has not looked like himself in any way, shape, and form. He had the nice start where he went the full 7 innings, but man, outside of that start, it's been pretty disastrous for Jack Flaherty to the point where you don't really trust him against any good team. And you see what happens when the Tigers pitching staff has won against a good team, as powerful as this New York Mets team. And it's been a tough couple of games, and now they got to try to avoid the sweep today at 1 o'clock with Casey Mize on the mound. I don't know what happened to Casey Mize, though. The difference between
That's been
him,
the shocker, yeah.
The difference between him in the first half, pre-All-Star break, when he was named an All-Star, to this half where he is genuinely become a worse pitcher than Kenta Maeda was to start the year, I don't know what happened. I wish I had answers, but he can't throw strikes. He's giving up home runs. Nothing about him is the same. Actually, that he throws the strikes. He still doesn't walk too many batters, but God, he throws it in the zone and he just gets demolished in there.
And I think like the more frustrating part about all this stuff with their pitching falling apart is the fact that this was like the big move that Scott Harris made was Chris Paddock, right? And then you still went out like it was made clear by, and I'm not trying to pull back to the deadline too much here because that's quite some time ago now, but we're literally only a month out from it. And the main guy that you got, at least as far as you gave up the most, the highest prospect that you traded for him, he's now part of the bullpen, and in his first appearance out of the bullpen was bad. And they acquired 2 starting pitchers at the deadline, and neither of them are really working out. It was a clear need, and it was something that the front office recognized. You just didn't go out and get guys that actually were going to contribute.
Well, I don't think they banked on the demise of Casey Mize,
right,
like to this degree.
Which I don't really blame them for that. I think that kind of came out of nowhere, right?
You mentioned Chris Paddock. You know, they gave up more for Chris Paddock than they did for Finnegan or anybody else that they acquired at the deadline. The guy that they gave up, can't talk today. The guy that they gave up, the 14th overall prospect in the system at the time, Enrique Jimenez, over 1,000 OPS in low A since being traded. He's killing it down there.
Good for him, man.
For the Minnesota low A team down in Florida. So, you know, you always want to trade prospects for players that can help you now. The problem is Chris Paddock hasn't helped you now since that first start he had back when he got traded to the Tigers at the end of July. 989-837-6125.